He started as a shirtless sex symbol who drove America wild in Thelma and Louise. Then came the anarchist philosopher in Fight Club and the cigarette-smoking war hero in Inglourious Basterds. But behind the image, there's a lot more than just a pretty face. Who is he really? An actor, producer, sex icon, scandal magnate, addict, Angelina's lover, tabloid king, and Oscar winner. Today, we're showing you Brad Pitt unfiltered. Subscribe, hit that like button, and let the story of Brad Pitt begins. Humble beginnings. Who was he before the fame? Born on December 18, 1963 in Shawnee, Oklahoma, and raised in Springfield, Missouri, William Bradley Pitt was the eldest of 3 children. His father, Bill Pitt, owned a trucking company, and his mother, Jane Etta, was a high school counselor. The Pitts were a stable, middle-class family grounded in conservative Christian values. Church on Sundays, sports on the weekends, and strong Midwestern work ethic defined his early years. Brad was an all-American boy, a swimmer, golfer, tennis player, and part of the debate team. By all accounts, he was popular, charismatic, and ambitious. But acting wasn't on the radar. He studied journalism and advertising at the University of Missouri and only caught the acting bug in his final semester. In a move that would define his destiny, he packed up his Datsun and $325 in cash, drove to Los Angeles, and began taking acting lessons while juggling odd jobs. In Los Angeles, he did everything. Drove limos, dressed as a giant chicken for a fast food chain, and worked as a furniture mover. He wasn't born into Hollywood, he clawed his way in. And then in 1991, Thelma and Louise happened, the birth of a sex symbol. His role as the charming drifter JD in Thelma and Louise lasted barely minutes. But it was all America needed. Suddenly, Brad Pitt wasn't just an actor. He was a phenomenon. The 90s saw him in Interview with the Vampire, Legends of the Fall, and A River Runs Through It. Roles that cemented him as Hollywood's quintessential heartthrob. But the man behind the beauty wasn't satisfied. Brad wanted to be taken seriously. And for that, he had to break the mold. Breaking the mold. Enter David Fincher. In 1995, Seven dropped a psychological thriller that forced audiences to see Pitt in a new light. His portrayal of Detective David Mills wasn't glamorous. It was gritty, vulnerable, and raw. Then came 12 Monkeys, where Pitt went fully unhinged, playing a mentally disturbed animal rights activist in a post-apocalyptic future. The performance earned him his first Oscar nomination. He followed it up with Fight Club, where he became Tyler Durden, a cult icon, a philosophical anarchist, and a role that would forever define his legacy. Brad Pitt was no longer a poster boy. He was a force, Superstardom, and experimentation. The 2000s brought massive commercial success. From Ocean's 11 to Troy and Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Pitt was one of the few actors who could open a movie on name alone. But behind the box office hits, he was experimenting. In The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, he gave a haunting performance. Quiet, poetic, mythic. In Burn After Reading, he went full comedy, playing a hilariously clueless gym trainer. In The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, he literally aged backward. Each role was a gamble. But Brad didn't care. He wasn't chasing fame anymore. He was chasing meaning. The producer within. While the world obsessed over his abs, his romances, and his divorces, Brad was quietly building a cinematic empire. Through his company, Plan B Entertainment, he produced 12 Years a Slave, The Big Short, and Moonlight. Films that shook Hollywood to its core. These weren't vanity projects. They were cultural explosions. The irony? Brad Pitt's first Oscar wasn't for acting, but for producing. Hollywood's pretty boy had become the man pulling the strings behind the scenes. Reinvention and reflection. As Pitt aged, he didn't cling to the leading man tropes. He leaned into character-driven roles. In Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he played Cliff Booth, a stuntman past his prime, loyal to a fading star, still holding onto his glory days. It was subtle, nostalgic, and layered with irony. The Academy took notice. He finally won his first acting Oscar at 56. Flaws, fame, fatherhood. Brad Pitt's on-screen evolution was mirrored by a personal life just as complex and just as public. He first became a tabloid sensation in the 90s. dating actresses like Gwyneth Paltrow and eventually marrying Friends star Jennifer Aniston in 2000. For 5 years, they were Hollywood royalty until 2005, when everything changed. Pitt met Angelina Jolie while filming Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Their chemistry was undeniable, and soon after, he and Aniston divorced. The media frenzy was relentless. Team Aniston versus Team Jolie flooded every magazine cover. But Pitt and Jolie weren't just a power couple. They became a movement. Together, they traveled the world, adopted children from Cambodia, Ethiopia, and Vietnam, and had biological children as well. They raised 6 kids together and used their platform for global humanitarian efforts. Their relationship, dubbed brangelina, was captivating but also complicated. They married in 2014, only to separate 2 years later in a messy, highly publicized split that included an FBI investigation, which ultimately cleared Pitt, and a drawn-out custody battle. Behind the fame, Pitt was struggling. In 2016, he admitted to alcoholism. Following the divorce, he got sober, attended Alcoholics Anonymous, and began therapy. He told GQ in a revealing interview, "I had taken things as far as I could take it, so I removed my drinking privileges." It was a raw and rare moment of vulnerability. Pitt also spoke openly about masculinity, childhood trauma, and emotional repression. Raised in a conservative Missouri household, he admitted that emotions were often buried, something he spent years trying to unpack. And fatherhood, it changed everything. Despite his fractured relationship with some of his children, particularly since the split with Jolie, he's been vocal about trying to become a better man, a better father, and someone who's emotionally present. That effort, that growth, quietly echoes through his later performances. In Ad Astra, he plays a man haunted by abandonment and personal failure. In The Tree of Life, he portrays a stern, loving father in a film that was less story and more poem. These weren't just roles, they were reflections. Legacy in motion. Today, Brad Pitt lives a quieter life. He's turned to sculpting and architecture. He owns a vineyard in the south of France, the same one where he married Jolie, and while the property has been part of legal disputes, it remains a symbol of both beauty and baggage. He rarely gives interviews. When he does, they're thoughtful, reflective. He talks more about art, emotion, and healing than stardom or fame. It's clear he's no longer trying to win Hollywood. He's just trying to be whole. And somehow, through it all, the fame, the fallouts, the front pages, he's emerged with something rare in show business: integrity. Brad Pitt once said, "I believe you make your day. You make your life." And if that's true, then he's made one hell of a legacy. Let us know your favorite Brad Pitt performance in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. More celebrity deep dives coming soon, only on this channel.